I just kind of was like, okay, this is not the place where I'm going to grow. There are not a lot of roles of this sort here. I didn't get it. So, there's not going to be another chance. And another thing that Phyllis Posnick told me, I remember she said, think about what you want to do because you only get to leave Vogue once.
You left Vogue the first time because you were passed over for a role?
Yes, I didn't get a job, which I interviewed with Anna for, and then I did not get it. And I think that's always something that I thought is like, we obviously go through many things, disappointments and failures. And I actually thought that one was also an important one because, I had to figure out what I wanted to do next. And it's very easy to kind of stay somewhere. And so I went to work for Elisa, and then my friend Garine, who I can't remember if she was still at Salas, but she called me and she's like, Stefano Tonki's looking for someone at T. And, he's the chicest man and the magazine's going to be great. And I went to interview and I met with Ann Christensen, who had worked with Grace Coddington at Vogue. And I got the job, but a few months after they had interviewed me, and apparently they offered the job to someone else and they declined. And I remember being in I think I was in Mexico on Labor Day, and they said, oh, we want to offer you the job. This is the salary. And I said, can you do this much? And they were like, is it a make or break situation? And I was like, no, I was so scared to say no because I really wanted the job. But, those are things that we learn that, you have to ask for what you want.
Totally.
And it was great. I started a few weeks after that. And
so they didn't come up, I assume, on salary.
Yeah, they came up a little.
Oh, okay, good.
And it was amazing. It was also right around the corner from here on 43rd Street until we moved into the beautiful new building. But it was an amazing experience because it was not just fashion. That's where I kind of learned about lifestyle and design and art. And Stefano literally knows so much about art and culture to a different than Vogue. Like Anna at Vogue, we covered a lot of theater and movies, and at T it was more, contemporary art and design before people were so into furniture. I feel like he was into it years ago.
Yeah, it's one of those where hindsight's 20/20, and you're probably happy everything worked out the way that it did.
Yeah.
But I am curious to know how you handled well, you said it was disappointment of being passed over for the role that you put your...
I kind of just fretted about it and probably cried on my own, but then was like, okay, I have to figure out what's next.
Yep.
And other girls at the magazine were also passed over for different roles. And I remember Lauren sent it to me, who was my coworker, and she was passed over for a job that she wanted. And she's like, I think, this is a message that I have to, move on. And I remember she left, I think, to work at Carolina Herrera. But I think every experience that you have, good or bad, I think helps you think about things and put things into perspective. And I think that helped me give me the push that I needed to pursue other opportunities.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, one of my favorite sayings is it's good to have a short-term memory in business. And I feel like it does sort of apply here because you didn't hold a grudge or take it personally or not, loop back.
No, I just kind of was like, okay, this is not the place where I'm going to grow.
Yes.
Because this was the role. There are not a lot of roles of this sort here.
Yes.
And I didn't get it. So, there's not going to be another chance. And another thing that Phyllis Posnick told me, because I applied to this other job at this magazine, a new magazine that a former stylist had started. And I remember she said, think about what you want to do because you only get to leave Vogue once. In certain instances, you can always go back. But she said, you're leaving Vogue, you do it for the right job. And I didn't take that job, and the magazine closed a year later. So then I took the right job, and I thought I always remember that, and I always tell people that too.